What's up, everybody? This is your boy Aundrey, and welcome back to another episode of How to Start Your Podcast from Scratch. So, last time we talked about three things. We talked about having really four things: your hook, your beginning, your middle, and your end. You got to have that structure, have that balance where people are having a sense of novelty from the different subjects that you have on each podcast episode, but also a sense of stability where they can know and rely that this is what they're expecting. Whether it's every certain day and certain time, and that you're going to structure your podcast in a certain way. Today we're going to be talking about who you should have on your podcast as a guest and why. And I think that's so important because who you invite to your podcast is a reflection of what your podcast is about, is a reflection of you. Just like they say, you're the average of your five best friends, the people you hang out the most. That's a reflection of who you are. So if you want to have a certain brand, you're going to invite people that represent that brand. So if you're, talking about business, you're going to invite people who are executives, you're going to invite people who are managers, people who are HR, whoever. And if you are a comedian, it's a good chance you're going to invite other comedians. So not that you have to limit yourself to only those kinds of people, but generally you're going to have people that you invite are going to be representative of the brand and the message that you're trying to get out there. And so I think that goes along with my next point of as to why, it's so important because, again, what they say can either, it will go towards or against your brand and what you're doing and what you represent. And so I know there's a lot of podcasts out there that they have people who are actually very controversial and maybe don't even go along with how they view things. For example, like Joe Rogan, he invites conservatives, liberals, moderates. He has all kinds of people from all over in different spectrums. And it's been working for him. And so there are other podcasts where, that is not the case. And I would say generally that's not the case because people want, like I said, they want some form of consistency. They expect this kind of thing and they expect this to be delivered. So, I think, like I said, going back to the whole, why is so important because you know what your message is, you know why your podcast is there, and so having somebody on your show as a guest is a reflection of that. I remember when I had to, I didn't have to, but I just made a call. I was just getting, reaching out to different people, and this was the time where I was just starting, and I was like just trying to invite anybody I felt like was cool, that was notable or anything like that. And I remember my friend recommended me to talk to this guy, a friend of his. He was, ex-Navy. He was getting his MBA. And those two things right there kind of sparked my interest. I was like, all right, cool. That sounds really intriguing. Like, I don't know what his full story is, but I like what this is. I like what his story is about. I like where he's going. And we talked for a little bit and I got to understand his story, and I realized that he was not a fit for my podcast. And he talked about how he was doing the Navy not for because he really wanted to be there, but he was just doing it for the benefits. And he was able to get free education. And that's great. And I'm glad that he was able to do that. But I guess what I assumed about him from the beginning was absolutely wrong. I thought, that he had a different kind of intent. And also, where he wanted to, his ambitions with, after graduating with his MBA were different from what I assumed as well. And so he wanted to pursue technology and like something in a technological sphere. And he wanted to do that not because he loved it, but because he said that's where the money is nowadays. So I'm glad that we had that conversation before I wasted his time, and wasted my time inviting him on my show, because I was able to vet him out and realize that he wasn't really a good fit for the show. And that's totally fine because not everybody's going to be a good fit for your show. Just like, there are people that you meet, not everybody can be your friend. There are people that you meet, you may not even want to date them. Whatever the case is, you have to vet people out just to figure out, what they're about and understand their story. Don't let your assumptions rule how your judgment, is about them. Get to know them a little bit. At least, read their story if you can. And if their story is not online for you to find, at least maybe talk to them. Maybe talk on the phone like I did for a little bit. Get to know them a little bit. And see what you guys can figure out. And like I said, most of the times it's been really great. But there was that one time where I was like, I don't think this is going to be a great fit. So just recognize that when you are dealing with different people, you're trying to see, who should I have on my podcast? Who would be a great fit? Who would the audience love to listen to? What kind of story would be intriguing and would be reflective of the message that we're trying to send? So, as we recap, we talked about, two things. We talked about who you should invite to your podcast. Somebody that reflects well. It's like your friends. It's like you want somebody who represents your brand. You want somebody who represents what you're trying to send as a message. And then also, too, why? What is their motivation, for, doing what they're doing? You want to understand their background. You want to understand their story before you bring them on so that their why and your why collide together and you guys bring something that's powerful to the table and something that will bring value to people who are listening. So that's what it's all about, guys. At the end of the day, it's all about bringing value to the listeners, because without your listeners, there's no podcast. Like you can have a podcast, but like it's not really a true show until you have people engaged. So you want people to be a part of your show, be a part of your community that understand the culture, that understand what's going on, and they have some level of expectation as well. So when they're listening, because they're spending their time, they say time is money, but honestly, time is more important than money. So they're spending their time, their precious time with you. So be sure to give them something great, give them something above average. So that's all I got to say about that, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back with another episode of How to Start a Podcast from Scratch. I'm out. Peace.